let's make some Blueberry Mascarpone Muffins. Yeah, it's a time of year when I'm really looking forward to baking, when it's not super great weather outside all the time, so I can't be at the grill every day, but I can be in the kitchen and I have my oven. And these Blueberry Mascarpone Muffins are insanely good. So let's get started. And we've got 2 cups of all-purpose flour here in a large bowl. To this, I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, half a teaspoon of kosher salt, half a teaspoon of dried ginger, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and a teaspoon of orange zest. Now what I want to do here with these dry ingredients is I want to first pre-mix them before we add our special ingredient, which is mascarpone cheese. To this mixture now, we're going to add 8 ounces of mascarpone cheese. What we're going to do now is we're going to cut this into the dry mixture. A lot of times in a recipe like this, you'll be using shortening or butter or something like that. We're using mascarpone cheese for that fat component, and it just brings such great, luscious flavor to these muffins. And I'm going to be using, it's called a pastry cutter, I think it's called, a dough cutter, I'm not sure. I'm not a baker. This works really well if you don't have one of these. You can just use your hands. It's going to get a little sticky and messy, but so what? So what we're going to do is just start cutting this in here. And you want to make sure you get your really dry ingredients over that mascarpone so you can really break this all down until it's almost like clumpy sand. Every once in a while, just scrape off your scraper. You can see how the mascarpone cheese is kind of breaking down into little pebbly pieces. And we're going to do this until there's really no wet chunks of that mascarpone left, any big ones. You're still going to have some pieces in there. You can see they come together and they fall apart like that. You want to get as close to having no big piles of loose flour left. That is looking pretty good to me. All right, let's get our wet ingredients ready. So for our wet ingredients, we're starting with 3/4 cup of orange juice. To this, I'm adding 2 eggs that have just been sort of lightly beaten. And 1 tablespoon of vanilla. We're going to go ahead and mix this up a bit. Get our dry ingredients back here. Going to add our wet ingredients. And we're going to mix. Don't want to see any dry mixture left here. As soon as all that dry, floury mixture is gone and no longer visible, then stop mixing. All that good batter off our spoon. Now we're going to fold in, and that just means gently turning it into the batter, 1.5 cups of some chopped toasted pecans and 1.5 cups of blueberries. And just start turning everything in there. Rotate your bowl if you need to. That's looking pretty good. That is looking good. Let's go ahead and fill our muffin pan. All right, I have my muffin pan here. We've got 12 muffins that are going to be coming out of this. Got the muffin liners in there. Let's go ahead and fill them. Depending on how high you fill these cups, you can get 12 to 16 muffins out of this mix. That's what I've found. I like to fill them pretty full. And if you make a little bit of a mess while you're doing this, don't worry about it. Some people like to cut the blueberries and chop them up before they put them in here. I like to keep them whole. I know there are probably some actual, real, legit bakers out there looking at me and laughing right now, but you know what? They taste good at the end. Going through and topping everybody off. Now your oven should be preheated to 375 degrees right now. Not too much mess, just a little. All right, I'm gonna pop these in the oven. Now they're gonna cook at 375 degrees for anywhere from, in my oven, 20 to 25 minutes. It's usually right around 25 minutes. I would start checking at about 18 minutes because every oven is a little different. And the way you check is you take a toothpick, slide it down in the center. If it comes back clean, no wet batter on it, they're done. Now, because there's that mascarpone cheese in here, you may notice a little bit of something on there, but if it's not the batter, that's okay. If it's moist, that's okay. You just don't want those clumps of sticky batter on the toothpick. So this is going in the oven, and in about 25 minutes, we're gonna have some great muffins. Here are our Blueberry Mascarpone Muffins. They took exactly 25 minutes in my oven. Once again, toothpick coming out clean. You can see that blueberry juice just sort of bubbling through. That's why I like leaving the blueberries whole. When you bite into it, you might get a burst of that blueberry flavor, and that's what I love. Now these are gonna sit in this pan for about 30 minutes to begin cooling. Then I'm gonna take them out, transfer them to a wire rack, and I'm gonna let them cool for an hour. Then we're gonna have a taste. Here they are. They have been cooling down on this rack for just over an hour. One thing I want to add here is before you put them in the oven and bake them, if you want, you could sprinkle a little brown sugar on top here. That's always good. But for me, this works just like this. I know some people like a little bit more sweetness on the top, and that's fine. But let's go ahead and have a taste. Let's see, I'm gonna choose this one right here. Go ahead and get our wrapper off of it. Should I just bite in or should I break in first? Well, let's break in first. Oh. Look at all those blueberries. That's what I love. All right, cheers. It is so moist, so, I don't want to say juicy, but when you bite into these blueberries, there is juice there. That's why I love keeping them whole. If you cut them in half, a lot of times that blueberry juice just sort of leaks out, and I've found that when I've made these before, so that's why I like leaving them whole, and man, this is good. Now I'm going to give you a tip about these. If you make a bunch of them, and you're not going to eat them obviously that day, I mean, I guess you could. What I like to do is I will take them and freeze them. Just put them in a Ziploc bag, kind of get as much air out as you can, freeze them, and then any day that I want them, the night before, I take one of those frozen muffins out, pop it on the kitchen counter on a plate, and the next morning I have a muffin. I can heat it up in the microwave if I want, or the toaster oven, but I like them just like that. Super convenient way to make them and save them. And of course, you could eat them really warm, but I like to let them cool before enjoying them. I think they turn out fantastic that way. Just perfect.